hear you.
Well, I'm not staying in here with your stinky shoes.
Well, what do you suggest we do?
Well, we gotta kill him.
What? You can't kill Chucky? They made like 100 movies where they tried to kill him.
7.
But they blew him up, they shot him, they blew him up again, they shot him like 5 times.
They didn't put him in Carbonite.
What'd you say?
Put him in Carbonite.
Carbonite?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. You're a genius.
I know I am.
Wait, shh. Did you hear that? That was the doorbell. It's the pizza man. We can't let Chucky get to the pizza man. You know, it wasn't always like this with Chucky. At first, it was simple little tricks. Small pranks, like taking my tools when I was using them. Which was annoying, but not harmful. Then he shifted to hiding in strange places around the house. And that would scare the crap out of us for no good reason.
Chucky!
After all that talk, I cannot believe you built a ridiculous lightsaber.
It's not ridiculous, and everybody agrees with me.
That's true. That said, I was starting to get more and more nervous, especially after he started chasing the dog, which is just not okay with me.
I like to be hugged.
And that stupid little laugh. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Things only got worse from there. He became more violent. So we decided we'd had enough, and Carbonite seemed to be the perfect solution.
Andy, how you've grown.
Get over here. I'm telling you, at some point, you just reach your breaking point. And we're there. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm using MDF for the Carbonite box. I really want to be able to finish the exterior smooth, and when we built our full hand and Carbonite, the MDF worked like a champ. The actual film used prop has slightly angled sides, so I used a digital ruler to figure out the angle for my table saw. This tool works great to find strange angles, and even better when there's a fresh battery in it, which mine did not have one. Either way, it works awesome. Also, when you work with MDF, make sure you wear a respirator or work outside. MDF has fine dust, and in that is formaldehyde, which is crazy bad for your lungs. Alright, now we just need the lid. Chucky, I need the lid.
Heidi ho! Ha ha ha!
Stupid little Chucky. Get out of here! I want to mention how valuable a cabinet scraper is. The tool I just used to scrape down the side of the box, super helpful for so many projects when you're using wood. I'm amazed how often I end up using it. For the top of the box, I wanted a 2-inch MDF frame, and I just glued this down to the dark masonite underneath. That's what we'll be encasing our little friend in. The CA glue on the sides just helps keep the piece in place while we clamp it. Now, the actual film-used prop, they had Volvo dashboard panels along the side of the Han and Carbonite. These provided the control panel look that you see. Since my 3D printer is down for repair, I drew my Volvo designs in Illustrator and then cut them out of acrylic on the laser cutter. However, they're one-dimensional this way, so I had to create the bases for the panels out of MDF. This way they'll stand off the box and look appropriate. To make them match, we sanded them down and then traced the outline of the acrylic. Now all we need to do is round them over on my bench sander. Chucky, my bench sander! To fill all the gaps and the joints on the box, I used spot putty and then I sanded it smooth. Now, MDF is crazy porous stuff, so I applied a water-based sanding sealer with a brush and then let it dry. Then I sanded that layer, applied another coat, let it dry, sanded again, another, and sanded again. The goal was to fill all of those areas that would suck up moisture and leave yourself with a hard plastic shell.
Nothing like a strangulation to get the circulation going.
Now, after a bit of forceful Chucky manipulation, I was able to trace out the basic shape of the doll, and that will allow me to cut the hole and fit him inside the box. We did this with a jigsaw, and it was simple enough.
Just can't keep a good guy down.
Now the hole I cut is obviously a bit larger than Chucky, but I needed to be able to position the portions of the doll inside so it looks submerged in locations. I'm not going to do the final positioning here, but I want a pretty good idea. Then I can cut strips of cardboard and make various shapes that I can hot glue behind Chucky. These will help fill up most of the gaps between the doll and the cutout. Later, we're going to fill these areas with more spot putty, so this is just keeping the putty from falling through the hole. Before I spray the first layer of primer, I check the box once more to see if there's any areas I missed. Once the primer is applied, you'll get a great look at any damages or gaps. If you find any, you can sand those little areas down flush, and that'll remove a little bit of the paint. Then I come in with some glazing spot putty and fill any holes or seams that I might have missed. Once this is fully dry, you can sand those areas back and hit it again with another layer of primer, and repeat if necessary. At the end of the day, you want as smooth a surface as you can manage. I clean up the box and get out my airbrush with the Vallejo metal gray that I purchased. I want the outer shell to have a little bit of a shine. Then the only thing I'm missing is a paper towel. Okay, Chucky, I need the towel, man.
There is a limit to how much I can take.
I need the towel. Paper towel. Okay, now for the Volvo panels. These are truly iconic Star Wars. You can find these in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, as well as the side panels of the Han and Carbonite prop. I have custom made mine, and though they're close, they're not screen accurate. Due to the scale I'm working in, I had to make adjustments to the design overall. I will also point out that my hero control panel, the one with all the electronics in it, is on the opposite side than the Han and Carbonite. Unless you count that scene in Cloud City where they're taking Solo to Boba Fett's ship. In that scene, the prop makers have the control panel on the opposite side. Just a little bit of fun Star Wars trivia for you. But again, I'm not screen accurate. It's a Chucky and Carbonite after all. We interrupt this Smuggler's Halloween special to bring you a special idiot report. Me being the idiot. Okay, that's a little bit extreme, but something did happen, and I wanted to point it out to you. It's a mistake I made because in my urgency and hurry to get Chucky put in the Carbonite box, I kind of rushed through something, and it pretty much cost me the entire day to fix the problem. You've just watched me build this. Well, you watched me build a complete version of this, and you can see it's busted apart. The reason being is the seams between the acrylic frame, the acrylic itself, and the actual MDF, you can see it here in this image, they weren't all the same. They weren't all even, and they weren't all finished. My thought process is once they were installed, you wouldn't notice it. The truth is, as soon as I held it to the box, that's all I noticed, was how ugly those finished edge, or should I say, the not finished edged, looked. And at the end of the day, these kinds of things are going to happen. So what I've done since is I tore this one apart, obviously, and then I started again on the other one. Thankfully, I hadn't finished the other three, and now you can see this edge is perfectly smooth all the way around, meaning that when it's on the box, it's going to look a lot better. Now, I didn't record doing that, mostly because there's a lot of cursing, and this is a semi-family channel, but because it took a long time to do. What I'm going to tell you really quick is I re-glued these as carefully and closely together as possible, and then I ran the faces all the way around on my belt sander to get all of them even. And then I went in by hand and I meticulously sanded each face as smooth as I could get it. Finally, I took spot putty and I filled all the gaps all the way around. Now, I'll be honest, on a couple of these, there are little tiny mistakes here and there, but for the most part, it's very smooth and very polished. After all the putty was dry, I sanded it again and I went back with the primer one more time. Any blemishes that showed up, I then filled and sanded a third time. So it took a long time to get them to where they are, but now all of them are in perfect shape and ready for the next phase. Now when I look at the finished product, I won't be driven insane because it didn't work out right. And what I want to let you know is if you make a mistake, if you're not happy with something, don't go crazy. Just take a few minutes, take a deep breath, reevaluate, and then dive back in. Do it until you're satisfied. All right, now back to the horror shenanigan. I'll be totally honest, I didn't give much thought to how I could mount the panels on the box, so I ended up just using some M6 bolts of various lengths and drilling right through the panels. This worked out pretty well. I could throw a nut on the back and help secure the panels in place. This way I can replace them or work on them if I ever need to. Alright, let's talk about the electronics. This is something I plan to work on more in the future. First up, I used this dish packing material as a diffuser, and it wasn't as thick or dense as other packing material we've used in the past, like with our inspired Falcon Bench project. So I have some hot spots where the bulbs are. The second part is, this electronics is super ultra simple. Basically all the LEDs are wired together with a 12-volt power supply. This is fine, but you'll see that it's crazy bright, but I just ran out of time. So what I plan to do in the very near future is rewire this with a small Arduino or an Adafruit device so that I can not only dim the LEDs, but I can add some animation. Overall, this is cool, but if I can benefit from some minor improvements, that would be great. I think I'll also add some sound effects with the motion trigger as well. I'll be sure to put up a quick video on that when we do it and install it in the basement. Now all we need is Chucky.
Come on, get over here, you son of
I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
I start off with spot putty and I use it to fill the seams between Chucky and the box. Now you could use Bondo as well for this, and I've even seen some people use liquid nails, but I had a huge tube of this putty on hand, so that's what I went with. The idea is to create a seam around the figure that binds it to the box and fills the gaps. Next up is the Mod Podge. This is similar to, say, Elmer's glue in its consistency and cure time. I had a bit on hand from our room build, and it has very little in the way of fumes. As a matter of fact, I rather like the smell. I've also seen this done with plain Elmer's white glue and even wood glue. So whichever glue you choose, use it. So yeah, I applied the Mod Podge to Chucky's clothes, hoping it would create a shell or stiffen up the material. The cloth is what I was really concerned with. The fabric and the hair both presented some challenges. Now you can add pools of glue over the seams between your figure and the board, covering up a bit of that putty mess, and then continue to pour in batches. A little down, let it cure, then come back, add some more layers, some more pools, and let it cure. I like to use a putty knife as well to create patterns and pull the glue in different directions, based on how long it sat there and cured. So the Mod Podge was a success. The technique worked on the cloth, and I'm really excited. It was a big relief. Once cured, it was perfectly hard and ready for good even coats of primer gray paint. This also helped with the hair. Now you may find once that layer of paint has dried, you'll need more glue or fill gaps. But when you're ready, all that's left to do is apply the final coat of paint. I chose a rattle can silver since I'm going to be weathering the inside with a water-based oil black paint, which I absolutely love. Thank you, Bill Duran, for the most amazing of all weather tips. You rock, my friend. Now we can rest easy, my friends. Chucky has been encased in carbonite and not likely to escape. We in the smuggler's room can go back to a more relaxed environment, free of killer dolls. And I really love the way this turned out, and hopefully this added a bit of fun to your Halloween. So let's see if any of you can come up with some interesting characters to put in carbonite. Because you know, that's just another way of... What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here, you're dead.
Hey! Let go!